Drake Lindsey has impressed plenty this year, but the real question is whether Minnesota's quarterback can survive the Silver Bullets' onslaught inside the horseshoe.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Thursday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. And as the everydayers know around here, Thursdays are our preview day for the upcoming game. And today we have Daniel House of Gophers Guru. And Daniel and I think the last time Daniel and I did a show was the season opener in 2021 when I thought Mo Ibrahim was going to be the guy to pull off an upset beating Ohio State that day. He unfortunately went out to an injury. Luckily, Ohio State won that game. But, Daniel, it's been quite a long time since we've had you on the show.
Yeah, it's great to see you, man. I remember that game. It was weird that Minnesota had that back-end safety injury, and that changed the whole game. I mean, that was close for a large chunk.
Yeah, it was. I think Ohio State won that one by 14 points. I forget the final score, but I think it was a 14-point win. I think this game on Saturday, it could go back and forth, but I think Ohio State is still head and shoulders better. I'm not trying to gloss over the fact, but I think Minnesota can do some things to trip up Ohio State early in the game.
This is one of those games where you have to play perfect if you're Minnesota. Turnovers, tackling, take care of the football. Those things are all important. Every detail, situational awareness. You have to play almost a perfect game in this type of environment. So that's what Minnesota faces, is trying to maybe compress the game down. They struggle to run the ball a little bit. I think that's a variable you got to have in a game when you're playing against Ohio State, is be able to minimize the amount of time Ohio State's offense is on the field. And so Minnesota is definitely going to have to find a way to run it.
What's been the story of their season so far?
I think the story has been Drake Lindsey, second-year quarterback, first time starting, just has been poised, confident, showing the ability to just command the offense and what they're trying to do. They run a very NFL-style offense, lots of motion and shifting, formation diversity, layered route concepts that, they kind of set up over the course of, previous games, and then they'll introduce some stuff in games and build off of it. It's an offensive system that has a lot of language to it. And so I think Drake's done a very good job of being able to stretch defenses at all three levels. He's got a great feel for space, being able to understand where his routes are going to set up and where to go with the football, understanding reactions to coverages. I thought last week their motion plan was huge against Rutgers. Rutgers did a very poor job disguising coverage. So they were use motion and bunch sets to get a lot of information and be able to kind of pick apart the zone windows when Rutgers was in quarters coverage. So Drake's been the story, man. He has, responded quite well. And this would be his biggest test thus far, playing against a defense like this, man. I love studying Patricia's defense, man. This team is fun to watch.
Well, it's been fun to watch Lindsey too, leading up into this game, because it seems like he has a full understanding of what PJ Fleck wants of him when he's on the field. He doesn't do anything outlandish or anything crazy that's outside of the realm of the game plan for that day. And it doesn't matter if it is third quarter or first quarter, it doesn't matter. He understands not just his role, but what the offense is trying to do to move the ball down the field. And I think for Minnesota in the first four games, it was very clear that he is the right guy for the job, and he finds ways to exploit holes in the other team's defense.
Yeah, you look at that game, Minnesota got down 14-0 versus Rutgers. And then right after that score by Rutgers, taking a deep shot on the post and him being able to drop that thing in and get an explosive play, be able to score a couple plays later. Then you get an interception, you score, it's 14 all. And then, it was a brand new ball game after that. They gave him the keys in the second half. They weren't able to run the ball very well in the first half. So they said, hey, we're going to throw the ball around the yard with the quick game. And they were able to use, motion bunches, stacks, and different things to be able to diagnose and get coverage information and be able to set their playmakers up off certain route types. And I thought Drake has done a very good job of just seeing things. He sees the field well. He's got a great feel for space, and he can vary throw tempos. He knows the type of ball he needs to throw in a certain situation. If that's an over route, he can deliver it with some touch and throw with good ball placement. So I think he's showing that, he hasn't been the problem at all with Minnesota. I think people were worried about the quarterback position. Drake has acclimated just fine, and they're doing a good job of using his quick release, getting the ball out quick to minimize teams' pass rush a little bit.
One thing I do every year in the offseason is look at Ohio State's schedule and kind of highlight the other team's best player or a player that I'm looking forward to watching. Last week, I know DeMond Williams was a guy for Washington. I wanted to see Jonah Coleman and what kind of running back he is. Well, I was really excited to see Darius Taylor play this weekend. He's only played 2 games this year, and Daniel, I don't know if he's going to play this weekend.
Yeah, there's a chance, but I would say probably not. Him and then A.J. Turner, their second running back, has season-ending injury. So I would anticipate it'll be Femi Ijiboy, Cam Davis at running back. Femi's played well. He's a second-year running back. He is breaking some tackles, man. He had 9 forced missed tackles in his first appearance versus Cal. He had 7 in the last game. So he's provided some elusiveness. They're going to run a lot of wide zone, mid zone type of rushing schemes, but they also blended in a counter play last week. And man, he tripped, man. He tripped over his shoelace. If he doesn't trip over his own shoelace, it's probably a touchdown. But I mean, they've been trying to get this thing going in the run game. And I think they eventually want to get to that point. But if they need to pivot, they will. They'll use that quick game and the screen attack as kind of an extension of the rushing attack if they need to.
There were some other guys on offense that when I was watching some of the previous games that kind of popped out to me. I'll do the first number I wrote down last, but I want to go quickly to the offensive line because it seemed like this unit, all 5 of them, are great in pass protection. Is that something that you have gathered while you've been covering this team this year?
Yeah, the big thing was, they're going through a big transition on the offensive line. Ariante Ursary ended up going to the Houston Texans in the NFL draft. So they have brand new left tackle, second-year player out of Wisconsin, Nathan Roy. Greg Johnson played center last year. He moved to left guard. And Ashton Beers played right guard. He moved to center. Then they took 2 transfers on the right side, Marcellus Marshall and Dylan Ray. And right now, I'd say the right side of the offensive line is where there's a little bit of a weakness, specifically, on the pass protection side. I think they've been able to neutralize other teams' pass rush by getting the ball out quick. I think that will continue to be the plan moving forward. You don't want to be in situations where you're backed up. You got to be good on first and second down because obviously with this speed and the pressure packages, the simulated pressures, the creeper pressures, the blitz stuff, all the multiplicity of Matt Patricia's defense. I think if you get in situations where, you're backed up, and Minnesota has to try to push the ball down the field, I think that's where they get into a little bit of trouble. They were in a better game script situation. They are more ahead of the sticks versus Rutgers, and I thought that helped them. But I'd say that right side is where to watch. Minnesota could be a little bit exploitable on that side of it.
We got to hear a lot about Minnesota's offense. I have one more guy I want to touch on before heading into the Golden Gophers defense. All that is coming up after the break. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives so many ways to play. I've built parlays, try player props, and even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home. Whether it's a sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. There's a barbecue spot in my neighborhood that's been the heart of our community for years. It's the kind of place where you walk in and everyone knows your name. When we show up as a community, it can mean big business for local business owners. Money spent in the neighborhood stays in the neighborhood. Take this ad as an excuse to go support your favorite local spot and have yourself a day in the neighborhood. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. So, Daniel, the first number that I wrote down on my notebook when I was going back and trying to highlight certain players that kind of popped off to me, it was number 86. He caught a touchdown or a catch over the middle, and I believe was against Buffalo. And I was like, oh, he's a bigger body guy making a catch that most bigger body guys can't make. Well, how has his season gone this year?
Yeah, Jamison Gears, returning player, very good in the red zone, able to attack the ball. They'll use him a lot in designs when they get, inside the 10 into the low red zone area. So keep an eye on him there. Minnesota last week did a good job incorporating the tight ends, in the quick game. So you'll see like stick routes, sit routes, quick hitting stuff to get the tight ends involved. There were some bunch sets, they're able to widen out the defense and be able to open up in the seam versus zone coverage. Drew Bibber and Jamison Gears both are a big part of what they do schematically. They even got Frank Bierman in there. He's more of a tight end fullback type, so they can be, showing like they're going to be in a 12 personnel package and pop into like a 21 personnel with him as a fullback. So there's a lot of motion, shift, formation diversity in this offensive scheme. So Ohio State is going to have to be cognizant of all the different things that Minnesota is going to do pre-snap and how to align properly to it. I think that's going to be a big part of Minnesota's scheme, is to try to be diverse with their groupings, formations, and motions, because I'm telling you, the hard thing is to get information on this Ohio State defense. Like the art of disguise is beautiful when you watch this defense. Like you might see some based on motion pre-snap, and then it's like, that's definitely not the case. You watch Caleb Downs, man, he reminds me of Harrison Smith. Just like that ability to disguise and play that cat and mouse game, like the cerebral part of the way he plays the game is just incredible. And I think Matt Patricia's done a good job of featuring everybody's versatility in that defense. I mean, Arvell Reese is just a beast, man. Watching him be able to, mug around, move around, make plays from sideline to sideline. Man, when he chased down Damon Williams in that one rep in the Washington game, I'm like, man, this dude's fun to watch. So, the team speed of Ohio State's defense coupled with, Matt Patricia. I mean, we could have a whole pod just me talking about Matt Patricia's defense, man.
What about Minnesota's defense? How have they been this year?
Yeah, Minnesota's defense, I'd say, the California game, the big storyline out of that one was just, alignment problems. Cal was getting into a lot of different formations, mixing stuff up, motioning guys around. JKS, their quarterback's outstanding. They had some communication issues in their defense, not being able to pass some stuff off correctly. Then they had some mistakes. They had a 3rd and 7 situation where, they had a tackle for loss, and then they missed a field goal, and then they muffed a punt inside like the 7-yard line. And then California landed on it, and they were able to get a score. So I think, some detail stuff was kind of the storyline in the Cal game. But defensively, I thought against Rutgers, it was one of those game plans where they were like, we're just going to roll coverage, play zones, take away the vertical passing attack, because Rutgers wide receivers were very good. Let them go kind of on, methodical drives where they got to execute on a play-to-play basis and keep changing the coverage picture, hoping that eventually they'll make a mistake. And you look at the takeaway that Kerry Brown got was a huge turning point in the game. They're able to mix some stuff up in the front, using some creeper and simulated style pressures. They kept Rutgers guessing all game, and I think that was kind of the key. They definitely have to tackle better, Jay. I mean, they had 17 missed tackles in that game. There's been some moments where they really struggled to tackle, and as I put in my write-up that's posting on Thursday, it's like, man, dude, they're going to have to be able to tackle in space against a team like this, because there's going to be some yards after the catch potential if they don't.
Well, the weird thing is with Ohio State, they've done this 2 years in a row where they've gone more of a slow, methodical, huddle up pretty quickly, having more 10 or 12 play drives where it's clear that if Ohio State wants to go up tempo or have consecutive drives of 7 plays or less, they can do that and score every time. And so for Minnesota's defense, it's got to be pretty hard for them to kind of prepare for Ohio State because you can go off of what they've done the first 4 games, but at the drop of a hat, they can say, no, we're going up tempo. And if you don't plan for it, Daniel, it could be bad news bears for the Gophers team.
Well, and that's what I said, when I was talking about this game with somebody else. I said, Matt Patricia's defense has been a little bit different every week. There's been a little bit different flavor that you have to be ready for everything. It's the same thing offensively. I think the strategy that Washington took, you'd expect with Ryan Walters, they're going to play a lot of man-to-man, cover one type of defense. They kept everything in front of them, man. They're like, we are not going to get beat vertical. We're going to let you work your way up the field. And I mean, you look at the explosiveness metrics in the pass game, for Ohio State, they haven't been like taking the top off the defense just because of the way teams have been, scheming against them. So they've been taking what's available. And Julian Saint's been doing a good job of just, taking what the coverage is giving them. You look at their offensive success rate, number 1. Overall an offensive passing success rate. Like they've just done a great job of being efficient in what the defense is giving them. I think Minnesota is going to have a similar strategy, force Ohio State to have to execute, go on long drives and hope that you can potentially, force a mistake. But it's going to be a big challenge for them just to be able to handle all the playmakers. That I think this is a Max Clair game. I feel like that matchup is what I'm watching for, being able to work the middle of the field. Some of the stuff Minnesota does schematically, I think this could be the game where Max Clair kind of emerges.
We went this entire time where we about 15, 16 minutes in. I haven't mentioned, neither one of us, I think, have mentioned Phillip Daniels, the former Minnesota offensive lineman. I know that he's playing with an edge this year, and I can only imagine what it's going to be like for him on Saturday to get back on the field opposite the team he used to play with. What's it going to be like? How do you think this game's going to go for Phillip Daniels playing against his old team?
Yeah, Phillip, a guy that developed, here in Minnesota earlier in his career, saw action a little bit, last year and then hit the portal, goes to Ohio State. And a very talented player. You could see when evaluating this guy coming out that he had great movement skills, ability to bend, absorb rushers, great lateral quickness, ability to work out of the perimeter, seal edges in the run game. Like it did not surprise me that, a big program was going after him. So I think, he's developed, he's gaining more experience. I think, he's still learning, he's improving technically, learning the system. I'm sure the juices will be flowing for everybody involved. Last week it was like, narrative street. You had, Ethan Kaliakmanis playing against Minnesota. Now this week you got Phillip Daniels against Minnesota. So, I'm sure Anthony Smith and some of those guys that, know Phil real well will be juiced up. They'll be going back and forth a little bit, I'm sure.
I'm sure that will be too. It's going to be fun to be playing this game at night. Ohio State, as people I'm sure around the country know, the whole big noon thing has kind of annoyed them. How do you think Minnesota's going to be able to handle the crowd inside the shoe on Saturday?
Yeah, I think that's a big challenge. I think that's a great point you raised because Minnesota does a lot of stuff with the line of scrimmage with, multiple plays, checking into looks, pre-snap motion, shifts, doing a lot of stuff before the snap. So I think, the crowd is definitely going to factor into things where Minnesota will have to be ready for that with some hand signals, doing some stuff to relay that you wouldn't typically do. Greg Harbaugh was actually talking about that with us today during media, just that, the whole operation that they're preparing for the crowd noise because they know pre-snap they do a lot of stuff and they're going to have to be able to get that information. The atmosphere is going to be juiced up. People are amped about, the Buckeyes and how great they played, how talented their roster is. It'll be a fun environment. I love college football environments where, people get juiced up for their team. So it'll be exciting to see what it's like.
Who are 3 players, and it could be offense, defense, it could be a collection of those, but 3 players that you believe Minnesota will need to utilize in a big way if they're going to pull off an upset Saturday?
I would say one of the big ones is Jalen Smith on offense. I think he's good. Somewhat, I'd tell you, young player, second-year guy, one on a deep post over the top, scored a TD. he had a couple of drops in the first few games, just getting used to the physicality, being able to win in contested situations. But I thought, great response. This guy can get open. He's a good route runner. I think he's the guy that, they need him to be the dude that can take the top off the defense. They're kind of yearning for that one guy that can really be a vertical stretch. And I think Jalen Smith might be able to merge. Anthony Smith's a player to watch. He's been very disruptive. Points at games where they can move him around. He can be out on the edge. He can be inside. They can tweak where he's lining up. A very physical presence, a long, powerful type of player that Minnesota really relies on. And then I'd say in the back end, everybody's going to be obviously watching a guy in Coy Parrish, but I think keep an eye on Kerry Brown. He had a couple of huge plays at the end of the Rutgers game. There's a slot fade on the inside that he was able to win the one-on-one matchup, play through the ball, create a pass breakup. He's moves all over the defense. I mean, he's playing nickel, he's playing free safety, strong safety, all over the place. Kerry Brown is a very underrated player. Coy gets a lot of the pub, but Kerry's ability to do stuff. He disguised a look last week where they show one coverage, make a little bit of a tweak, roll into, inverted cover 2 type of look. He plays into the flat and gets the interception. So just watch the cat and mouse game. Minnesota will try to disguise and roll coverages, especially against Ohio State team. They're trying to take away the vertical guys. So those would be the 3 I'd watch for.
As we do every Thursday, we get to go and get our predictions on a game prediction and a score prediction from the guest and myself. Both of those will be coming at you after the break. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Nappa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, they're just nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals too. Pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. That's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So, Daniel, this game to me is a weird one when trying to put a score prediction together, because I thought Washington was going to score. I think I predicted 17 points last week. They only scored 6. And so I know Ohio State's defense has gotten off to a very hot start, like basically historic, the kind of things they're doing right now as far as the points are limiting the other teams to. I don't know if they can go 5 games or 6 games holding everybody to single digits. And so I've had a hard time putting my score prediction together. Right now I'm feeling that Ohio State's going to win 41-10. And if Minnesota scores a touchdown and a field goal, I wouldn't be mad about that. I wouldn't be mad about that at all. If Ohio State went up tempo and they ended up scoring 50 plus, they could do it. I just don't think Ryan Day is going to try to make the offense go faster when the offense and the philosophy he has going is working. What's your score prediction for this game?
Say about 31, 34, 10 in that range. I think, Minnesota is going to play the field position game, when they can, if they have a drive stall, just short of midfield, they'll probably, punt the football and make Ohio State have to go on long drives down the field, try to compress this thing a little bit. That's how you kind of have to approach these type of games. Maybe when you have a talent, discrepancy is, can you run the ball? Can you sustain drives? Can you play the field position battle where, you're making teams go all the way down the field, with methodical drives, promoting execution, and hopefully maybe you can get a takeaway or something like that. This is a game where, if Minnesota's going to make this interesting, they have to be able to run the football. They have to take care of the football, maybe create a key takeaway here or there. No penalties, no detail mistakes, have to play situationally aware football. I mean, you going into an environment like this against a team that, is the best in the country, you got to play pretty much perfect to come out of there, being very competitive.
I really enjoy watching Bo Jackson play football, but the reality is he is still a true freshman. He had a fumble, I think, in his first game playing against Grambling because he didn't play against Texas. And if there's a guy for Minnesota to kind of target, to try to knock the ball out, to force a turnover, to get the ball back in plus territory, you have to go after Bo Jackson. But the issue for Minnesota is he's gotten better, and I think the ball security issue that you have with any true freshman, you would like to believe they're going away, but this could be a game where Minnesota's defense tries to punch it out a little extra, 2 or 3 extra punches. And if they get that third one and it pops, Minnesota could get the ball in the plus territory and score and really get themselves in a good situation to cause an upset.
That's the key. The turnover battle in these ball games is huge. The team that passes the football better is more efficient in the passing game. You go and study that. You see that influences the outcome of games. So those are the variables that often, correlate with success. I mean, I just look at it like, Bo Jackson, his contact balance is outstanding. And like, dude, that guy is so hard to get on the ground. I put in the write-up that swarm to the football is a necessity in this game with all Ohio State's backs, Donaldson and him both, yards after contact, being able to press blocks, set stuff up. I think, Ohio State, I'm interested in their running back room. Are they dynamic enough there? I think Bo Jackson's progressing. I think that was kind of the key to have a young guy emerge that can be a dynamic weapon out of there. I think if they can figure that running back room out and find somebody that can be a dynamic weapon in there to complement, what they have on the outside, and then the tight end room with Claire, I think that's the key because the defense is outstanding. I just love, watching Arvell Reese and Caleb Downs, and McLean's really good in the back end. I think a lot of people don't talk about him enough, man. That guy can just get downhill fast, play the alley, and make plays. Davis and Igmanosin, I think, man, he's made a lot of progress in just cleaning up the penalties, playing with better technique. I think the schemes helped him a lot, being able to do some things that benefit him. It's so hard to scheme against this defense because every week it's a little different. The disguise is so good. I've been telling people, it's almost like you run an NFL style system, the pressures hit at the same, rate of speed that they do in the NFL, but very rarely do you have quarterbacks that can process that, like NFL quarterbacks can in the college level. So I think that's what benefits Ohio State is the scheme features their playmakers really well.
How do you think? No, I'll change this last question up for you. Do you think Bo Jackson should start? I'll leave it there. I know you know the other team pretty well. Do you think he should be the starting running back for the Buckeyes?
I would say he's trending in that direction. Yes.
Okay.
I feel that way. I think there's certain moments of the game. I think you got to use Donaldson at periods. You got to use Bo Jackson at certain periods. It's kind of situational to me, but I do think that Bo is emerging as that guy that could potentially be the most dynamic option. But I do think Donaldson's he could just press blocks. He's got great feel. He's physical. He can fall forward for yardage. I think the two of them complement each other well. They just need to figure out how to use them correctly situationally.
He is Daniel House. He's a founder of Gophers Guru. The first time him and I have been on the show, like we mentioned earlier, since 2021. That game that I will remember for a very long time because, Daniel, I said it earlier, I thought Ohio State was going to lose, and I thought I was going to have to go live after the game on YouTube and really be very frustrated because Stroud lost his first game, but the Buckeyes pulled it off.
I got to see C.J. Stroud's first game, and then I remember Travion Henderson catching that swing pass, and bang, he was up the sideline. I'm like, well, this dude's special. Like, see you in the NFL very soon. Like, I'll never forget that game, man. There's so much NFL talent out there. Garrett Wilson played in that game. My gosh, goodness, that was a great game. What a fun one to watch. I'm excited for this weekend too.
I am too. You can follow him on Twitter at DanielHouseMN. You can follow me on the same platform at JSteven07. Guys, we're up out of here on a Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow, and we might have a special guest joining us for our Friday show. I can't let the cat out the bag yet. We'll see you tomorrow.